Ho, 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 and welcome to a very special episode of the Player Issue Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Claus, and it's great to have you back. I'm sure I know a lot of you are thinking, why now, after 3 months, are you coming back to do this one-off episode? It's Christmas. Why wouldn't we? Want to give you a nice present and surprise right before Christmas. And hopefully you can follow along. Otherwise, it'll be after Christmas, and that'll be really sad and disappointing for everybody. But no, so the real reason is, of course, that we had a bit of a donation given to us very recently by one Anthony Lynch, who has been a previous guest of the show. And we just wanted to show our thank you to all the people who actually purchased tickets, of course, to that donation, the lotto that was used for that donation. And of course, we wanted to make sure that you had a reward for that. So here we are doing a podcast in the week of Christmas. Full disclosure, we did the interview yesterday on Monday. It is now Tuesday where we're doing the opening, and it'll be Wednesday when we do the close and we pack it all together. So, yeah, as I said, full disclosure, 3 months after our last episode, I did get sick, a fair bit actually, unfortunately, got quite sick, and it started off as just a simple cough and cold, turned into a bit of a chest infection, which has caused all sorts of issues in my throat. It's still not right. I have a bit of a struggle talking. It's certainly, I don't know if you can tell if you hear this at all, but quite a few people have been able to tell when I've done the live shows or the draws that my throat and my voice just aren't quite the same as they normally were. So hopefully it's not too distracting for you. It feels not great, I'll be honest. It feels quite heavy in my throat, so I'm struggling not to let out a big cough and choke right now, but it's not something you all need or want to hear, so we'll get on with it. But no, I just want to say thank you very much to Lynchy for that donation. As always, he's an absolute champ of a bloke. And of course, again, to everybody who donated to that lotto or purchased tickets to that lotto, and then everybody who purchased extra, well, not even purchased, they just gave extra money towards the podcast for extra donations. We really appreciate that. The money has gone to a great cause. No, I didn't go to my brand new 75-inch TV. I did sell a few jumpers to purchase that. However, it has gone to a great cause. We have purchased a new camera that will be used for all the live shows, live draws, and et cetera, maybe even photographing the jumpers that we get in, things like that. So thank you very much again to Lynchy and everybody else for your generous donations. We really appreciate it. And here is hopefully your reward for doing so with this new episode that we have directly at Christmas. We've got a good episode. I hope we have a good episode. We have a good guest on today. He's been asking to come on the show for a little while, and it's my fault that I haven't got him on earlier. I kind of get lost in all the messages I get when trying to remember who the people are that message me. So I'm glad he did a follow-up. So if you have asked me if you could be on the show, please reach out again, because we would love to have you on. Just unfortunately, some of the messages do get lost, and I forget who you are half the time because I don't have a great memory. Also, of course, I didn't have a chance to come on and do an earlier episode, not just because I was ill. I did get married in October, which most of you know as well. That took up a fair amount of my time following with the honeymoon period, which was fantastic. I had a week off and then went back to work the next day, so it was great for me. And following that, of course, it's Christmas time, and Christmas time in retail is not a fun place to be, but is what it is, and I've got to get paid somehow, so that's where we are right now, right in the midst of it, and I'm really looking forward to Boxing Day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Note the sarcasm. Anywho, let's not chit-chat for too long. Let's get on with the episode. We'll make it fairly short, because if you're anything like me, I now have a short commute to work, and I can't actually listen to too long an episode of podcasts anymore. So I now understand all you people who have short commutes. It's not as easy to listen, so we'll get into it. Obviously, we'll do our regular close after the interview, but yeah, we'll get straight into it now. So here is our interview today with a very young and new collector, Jordan Acker. Jordan, how are we, mate?
I'm good, Aaron. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I am fantastic. Well, I say that with 5 days till Christmas, and I work in retail, so I'm surprised that I can say that. But I actually have 2 days off in a row, which is incredibly rare for this time of the year, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, I'm retail as well. So this time of the year and 2 days off, you're pretty lucky there.
Yeah, I have no idea how I scored today, but whatever. So I'm stoked to be here and chatting with you today. Obviously, we were supposed to do it yesterday. However, the one day that I got off, it was completely filled with lunches and dinners and all sorts of things. That didn't quite work out for us. But we're here today on the Monday, which is great. Very rare, but basketball is an hour away, so we're trying to squeeze this in, and we've had a lot of trouble with Zoom, so we're back to Skype.
My apologies for that one.
All good. I am definitely never going towards Zoom again. So anyone who wants to come on in the future, make sure you download Skype for me because I will not go back there again.
Lesson learned. Yeah, lesson learned.
All right. Let's get on with the questions. Jordan, where are you from and who do you support and why?
So I am from Berwick, which is a suburb about 45 minutes southeast of Melbourne. Pretty small, pretty local.
Yep.
I'm a Hawk supporter, and that's because my dad, when he moved here from Australia, from South Africa, he just lived down the road from Waverley Park, and he spends a lot of time there selling peanuts and things like that. So working for the ground, and he grew a love for the Hawks, and I just got born into the family. So
beautiful.
It was good. It's been great so far. So
how long ago did he move over to Australia from South Africa?
He was 13, so it would have been 83.
Okay, good time.
Around that time. A great time, yeah. So he even says, being a kid and you firearm sport, you pick football and you pick the team that lives closest to you and they're just winning flag after flag. So he loved it growing up.
Makes sense. Now, tell everyone where we can find you and follow you on social media before we get too far in.
All right, so for my jumper collection, I've just got the one account. It's hfc.kits on Instagram, or you'll frequently see me as Jordan Acker in the player issue group on Facebook. So that's where I am floating around. Absolutely.
And I'm surprised, actually, that you told me that you've only been collecting for the last 12 months. I've just jumped into my next question there by myself. But because I swear I'd seen you around the chats for a long time, but there you go. Have you been a long-time lurker and just started actually collecting, or did you literally just get into it and I just felt the connection with you so quickly?
Yeah, pretty much just got right into it. It was, probably October-ish last year. Hawthorn were doing their sort of like locker room sale online, so they sell their authentics. I can't remember who posted it, but I was sort of lurking for a few weeks. Quite the TikTok user, so Andy Munro pops up as he does for everyone.
He's jumping ahead of me now. Let me ask the question first.
All right.
I'll actually ask the question that I wrote down, so not let you get too far ahead of me. But so been collecting for 12 months now, right in the mix of COVID, pretty much. October-ish is still, we're still there apparently because it's jumping back up on us. But you promised your missus that you would cap your collection at 8. Now, how did you come up with a cap of 8, and how quickly did you surpass that number?
So the cap's actually a funny story because at first I didn't probably understand the whole player issue thing. And I put a post up probably about after my second jersey, and I was like, how do you guys display everything? And then I saw your big locker, and I said, I can't fit that in my house. So the next thing was Matt Crow from Sports Gear Australia. He had took a photo from an NRL page with the IKEA stands, and you could fit, if you had 4 of them, you could fit 8 jerseys in there. Yep. So I said to the missus, I'll just get 8. When I upgrade them, I'll trade them away or sell them away. And that never happened. I think it surpassed 8 probably about 3-4 weeks in after my first jumper. So it didn't take long at all.
Fantastic. So, all right, now we'll let you talk about it a little bit. So what motivated you to start collecting player issue footy jumpers or jerseys, as you've said already?
Yeah, so sorry about the jerseys. I'm also an NBA fan. So
okay, that makes sense.
Grown up saying jerseys all my life, and then sort of growing back to Guernseys and jumpers is a bit of language limbo for me. So, but yeah, it was Andy Munro. So on TikTok, just scrolling through, and as we all do, he pops up and he's like, look at this. And, it's got the sublimated number and the GPS pocket. And I thought, this is the coolest thing I've seen in my life. Never really got into the match worn stuff. I was younger when I was when Hawthorn went through their prime, so 13, 14, 15. I was those ages, so didn't have the money whether I wanted a match worn Guernsey or not. I remember Brett Attrell on your episode said he spent probably a kidney on Luke Bruce 2015 grand final jumper. I've never seen that money in my life now at 21. But so just scrolling through TikTok and Andy kept popping up. So I jumped in the group after you chucked it up there. Like, this is getting interesting. And then one night someone posted, Hawthorn have their Authentics on. I ran out to my dad, said, check this out, I'm going to buy one. It was a 2020 Daniel Howe Indigenous player issue.
Nice.
And then I thought, that's okay, it's not bad. I was stoked. And then I jumped back on about 20 minutes after and bought the Tom Scully.
Nice.
So that's how it started. That was just one random night. And then here we are now.
It's a good way to start. So those playing at home who somehow don't know who Andy Munro is, hopefully you're a first-time listener, so that'd be good. Andy Munro on TikTok has got 18,000 followers, and he's got 1.1 million likes in total. Still don't really get TikTok. The missus does because she's always on it. But Andy is one of those fellas that is on there just promoting jumper collecting. So it's fantastic to see, and he does have some really entertaining and rather hilarious videos at times. So jump on there and have a look and a listen. You never know, you might be like Jordan and start your collecting because of Andy, and end up in this place that we're at now and on the Player Issue podcast. So that's always a good result.
Absolutely.
So now, what does your missus feel about you collecting now that you've gone past that 8?
She just looks every time. I just constantly have a little eBay ding that goes off my phone, and she just gives me that look. She's like, you don't need to buy another one. Don't need to buy another one. She loves it. She loves it. It keeps me happy and keeps me occupied. And she just says, there's worse things I could be spending my money on. You know, I'm not out weekends, doing drugs and things like that. I jump on eBay and buy a jumper or something like that. Or I'm chatting to a couple of the other horse collectors looking to strike a trade or something like that. So I enjoy it. It keeps me happy. She just doesn't like to see my wallet shrink as much as it does and as fast as it does. But she knows it's a good hobby, and I just promised her a trip to the Bahamas once I sell up. So,
yeah, all right, that's fair. That's definitely going to work, I reckon.
Yeah, it keeps her happy, keeps her entertained in it, so it's good.
How old is your missus now?
She's 20, so I'm 21, she's 20. So
nice. So, and what was her name?
Emily.
All right, Emily, just so you know, I did not tell Jordan to say any of this. This is off his own back. So he will be taking you to the Bahamas very soon, I believe. Well, when we're allowed to open and do anything with our lives. Jordan's promised that he will be taking you. So, yeah, just keep being a great missus, and he will definitely take you. I can just see it now.
Absolutely.
Being a young collector, how do your parents feel about you collecting?
Yeah, at first they said it's a cool hobby. That was after the first 2 jumpers, and then the next week I had 2 more jumpers come in, and they go, so how much money are you spending on this? And I said, yeah, it's my money, and I'll make my decisions with my money. And then my dad's massive on football, so he's real keen on it. He likes overlooking it and seeing what I've got. And Mum just sort of, it's just another package, and I just chucks it on the bed when I get home or something like that. I still live at home. So, yeah, they're pretty cool about it. My brother's reasonably interested, which is good. So they like to see what I've got coming in and what players are on the back, so it's good. Being
that your old man's been a Hawks fan for so long, does he have any jumpers himself?
No, he doesn't. I thought about trying to get him into it as well and sort of even sharing the collection, but he's happy observing from the outside and not spending the money, which I think is a good idea for him.
Yeah, fair enough. So you guys have had some tremendous success over the Clarkson era in the early and mid-2010s. Do you have a preference as to what era in which you would like to collect? Or is it too early to start thinking about that?
That's a great question, honestly. I thought I have a goal-ish that I'm looking for in terms of my collection. But in terms of eras, I think for everyone is Sat 3P era. I know there's another Hawthorn collector, Luke and Reeves, who's gone an absolute. His collection is sick of all those 3P players. I think he's down to 5 left that he needs to get. All in match worn, so I think that's just unreal. So that's definitely that 2013 to 15, even just a few of those jumpers, which are, again, quite hard to find. That'd be sweet. So that's probably, that's the era I'd like to have one day.
Yeah. So you mentioned there is a little goal. What is your goal? So do you have a specific type of goal that you want to hit?
Yeah, so for the moment, the specific goal is every design since 2000, so when I was born. Nice. So not necessarily every year, because as you know, a lot of jumpers, they can be recycled for 3, 4, 5 years, the same design. Just one of every design. I'm really not fussed how it looks or which year it is. Just be cool to, since seeing every jumper that I've seen growing up, which would be nice. So,
and now you've said that. So once you hit that point of having every design, that's it. You're stopping, right?
I think it'll be upgrade first, every player, and then stop. So,
yeah, it's never going to end. I know where this goes, and it's just not going to finish.
I did think sometimes like, it might sort of fizzle out. I said to my girlfriend, like, oh, over the summer, I won't buy as much, so I'll be doing stuff, and I just bought more, and just didn't stop.
Now, I actually had that question written down for much later on. However, I'm going to jump all the way down the list. I'm going to ask you it now. So what is your main priorities right now? So being a 35-year-old with a wife and a mortgage and now talking children, my collecting habits have certainly had to change since I first started collecting. Jumpers were literally all I wanted to spend my money on when I first started. But what are your priorities now as a 21-year-old just starting to get into your collection?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So I do work full time in retail, so it does bring a consistent paycheck, which helps a lot with the Guernseys, I should say.
You can say whatever you want. It's freedom of speech right here.
But yeah, so I guess I do. 2022 does have the plan to start saving for a house or a deposit at least with my partner. So that might have to prioritize jumpers for a little bit. I have slowed down in probably the last couple of months trying to I used to just buy whatever I got offered to me, and I thought that was the best way to go about it. But now I've definitely tried to slow down, narrow down my collection, and maybe one a month, one big piece. My last 3-4 pieces I paid $400, $500, $600 a pop for them in the last few months. So I try to keep it to a minimum now, because looking back early this year when I'd buy absolutely anything, the bank account got pretty thin. So just sort of maintain that now, looking for a house and sort of keeping the jumpers on the side for the meantime.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're definitely a lot smarter than me at 21 years old. I think I didn't start any of those thoughts until I was 30. So, and I didn't buy my first house until I was 34. 34? Yeah, 34. So you're a lot further ahead than me, I can tell you that much. That's all right. So what's your thoughts on past players' jumpers after having left for another club? For instance, players like Sam Mitchell, Luke Hodge, Grant Birchall, etc. Do you think the value of their jumpers holds up or gets less or increases?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think, especially for Hawthorn, it's really dependent on who the player is. The Hodge jumpers and the Mitchell jumpers still sell for an absolute premium. I know the Birchall jumpers go for an absolute premium, whereas I know like guys like Isaac Smith, they've lost all value. Brad Hill, guys like that, they've lost their value. The Isaac Smith one shook me up a little bit, how cheap some of his jumpers go for, because I have his 2015 grand final player issue.
Nice.
And I thought I scored that at the time at a reasonable price, but then I think it's probably way unders what it should be or what it is worth at the moment. Being a grand final jumper. But yeah, I guess a lot of collectors, Hawthorn collectors especially, just sort of zipped him out. But yeah, it does make sense. I mean, you're loyal to your club and you want someone who's had such a strong relationship with your club, like Mitchell, Hodge in that 4P era, like Roughhead, guys like that. Not that he left. But yeah, they're the guys you want to collect. Whereas Smith, I guess, being at Geelong, especially, and being the most hated club for a Hawthorn fan, it's almost spiteful to have a Smith jumper in your collection. You don't see many around at the moment that tend to be in other club collectors' possession.
Interesting.
I've noticed a lot of Smiths that go around with other club collectors, but Hawthorn collectors, I think, off the top of my head, I may be one of the only ones that at least showcases a confident and passionate Isaac Smith jumper. So,
well, there's no doubt after he retires, the value will come back up because he'll be much beloved by the Hawks fans once again once his career is over, no doubt. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever considered purchasing the jumper of a former player's new club? So, for instance, like Mitchell's West Coast or Hodge and Birchall's Lions, etc.?
I've considered it. I haven't looked into it too much, so I don't like to dabble into other clubs' Guernseys too much. I've only had, out of my whole 12 months collecting, only 3 other jumpers that were outside of Hawthorn. I almost just didn't sit right with how I have it all set up and things like that.
Yep.
I know there is like a couple of collectors, particularly Garth Males, who just straight up collects Grant Birchall.
Okay.
So he's geared up on all his line stuff over the last couple of years as well. Just loves him because they're both from Tassie and both have that strong connection. But I think it's something I might consider one day. I feel like I'd love a Mitchell West Coast jumper, but it might be a little bit hard to find. You barely see West Coast jumpers, let alone a Sam Mitchell one. So
yeah. I had one of the yellow Clash, actually, and it's actually hard keeping a hold of West Coast jumpers because as soon as you tell people that you have one, they're all over you. So it's actually really hard to keep a hold of.
Yeah, I can imagine. I haven't had a West Coast jumper yet, but I can imagine people just going nuts for one. So they are hard to find. So
yeah, I've had my Mark Lacroix one for only a few weeks now, but I've just been barraged with messages about it. So not selling it for everyone out there. So please leave me alone. So a lot of new collectors, believe it or not, aren't aware that one of the greats of the game actually played for Hawthorn before Geelong. Have you ever seen a Gary Ablett senior Hawks jumper? And would that be something that you would consider a whale-type piece for your collection?
absolutely, that would be just such a rare piece. I've never seen it in my life. I wouldn't know anyone who may have it. I know a couple of people that have Dunstals and Breredens and things like that, which would also be a whale piece, but the Gary Ablett senior one would just be unreal. I wouldn't be able to put a price on it. That's just, it's just, I don't even think about it because I just can't ever see myself in possession of one.
Yeah, I do wonder often the value that someone would put on that. It's like you say, with a lot of things, there is no value for the things that we collect. It's pretty much just what we want to pay for it, or sometimes it's what clubs will put a value on it when they chuck it on their websites and things like that. But generally, it's when it gets around the traps, it's just whatever value someone is willing to pay. So I couldn't imagine what someone would be willing to pay for that. I reckon it would be a hell of a lot of money.
Absolutely. I've heard of Dunstals going upwards of $3-4 grand. So, and don't really see those sort of exchanges on the Facebook group.
No.
That's just along the grapevine I've heard. So yeah, it gets quite expensive at times.
Yeah, I could imagine if someone put up the Ablett and let's just say they put $100 grand on it or best offer, people would still give them shit for it. I guarantee it, because they just couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it around that price point. I mean, if you can buy a Dustin Martin Grand Final Guernsey for $75,000, I don't think you can put a price on a Gary Ablett Senior Hawthorn Guernsey for sure. Yeah,
there's some rich businessman out there who will definitely pay for it if they have to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Get what they want, that's how it works. Just like Dusty Guernsey, I'm sure that's sitting in a big corporate office somewhere.
More than likely, I'd say you're right. Yeah, collecting pre-90s jumpers is incredibly difficult, not just because they are difficult to find, but because they're extremely hard to authenticate. Have you had any experience with these jumpers as yet? And how have you gone with the authentication process?
I'm probably in a good spot where I haven't had to deal with 90s jumpers or 80s jumpers, and I'm not essentially in the sort of market for them. I do have a 2000 Paul Salmon player issue, and I had a little bit of trouble at first when I sort of bought it. I was a very bit iffy. I had a couple of the horse just hit me up saying, did you buy it? And then when I got it, like, as you know, Paul Salmon's quite a large guy. Probably definitely the biggest Guernsey I've owned. So sort of put to bed those sort of fake rumors. But no, I have heard of the troubles of authenticating those 90s Guernseys and things. So I'm just glad that's not in my collection goal at the moment, so I don't have to deal with it as such.
Yeah, fair enough. I wonder if I ever owned that Paul Salmon previously. I did actually have a 2000 Paul Salmon. I think it's like a 4XL or 3XL or something, isn't it?
I'd have to have a look. I think, that sounds about right. I know there's another collector that has a 2000 Paul Salmon going around as well. It may be the same one.
Yeah.
It's huge. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
How big it was.
Awesome. So the Hawks collection, you've talked about it a little bit already. The Hawks collection community is a fairly large one with a great range of extremely knowledgeable collectors. Guys like Brett Attrell, Lucan Reeves, Brett Baz, etc. have all been around for some time and know exactly what they're talking about. Have you had much to do with these guys, and how has your experiences been as part of the wider community?
I absolutely love the Hawthorn community. They're great. I do chat a bit on and off to Brett Attrell. He really helps me out with authenticating things, especially in the early days when I used to just buy things and then think about it later. And he'd go, no, that's the wrong player or it's the wrong year. So he helped me out a lot with that.
Yeah.
Lucan's been great too. I just am absolutely admirable of his collection. I love asking him, like, can I have a look? Can I see what you've got? Another quieter sort of collector you don't hear or see of him much, but he's got the big guns in there for sure. And great collection. Same with Brett Baz. He was one of the first guys I got in contact with and bought a lot of jumpers from him early days, and he really helped kickstart my collection. But probably the biggest one for me would be Cody Rigg.
Yep.
So I bought my first jumper off Cody, which was supposedly a 20 2012 Luke Bruce training jumper. Turned out to be like a 2011 Trav Tuck jumper. And Brett Attrell, he called me out on it when I posted it straight away. So I hit up Cody, and I was panicking because I was like, I've just spent, this money on it, and I don't know what to do. Like, I've never met this Cody guy in my life.
Yep. And
the way he handled it just put my faith in absolutely everyone in the community. He was so good with it. He apologized, offered you can keep it. I'll send you some money back. Send it back. I'll cover the postage and pay you back. And he fixed me up with a Luke Bruce jumper because of all of that. So I sort of sent him the Travis Tuck back, and he sent me a Luke Bruce jumper 2019 home. So he's been definitely almost like my big brother in the sense of the collecting community. I get all these hand-me-downs, so when he upgrades, he sends them down to me, and then I sell mine like that. So, Cody's been great, and so has the whole Hawthorn community. They've been really good.
Yeah, nice. Have you had much dealings with people outside of the Hawthorn collection community?
Not really. I guess most people that look for Hawthorn stuff are generally Hawthorn fans. Mm-hmm. When I put stuff up for sale, they'll hit me up. Reese Mitchell is one I've been in contact with before. He's great. Mm-hmm. I bought a jumper off Reese before. I'm trying to think. Other than that, everyone, pretty much all my jumpers have come directly from those few Hawthorn collectors. So
yep, that's good. Keeping it nice and tight. I like it.
It's good.
Have you had any sour dealings at all? I know you just mentioned that you've had one that you were a bit worried about, but it turned out fantastic, and Cody's obviously a fantastic guy. Have you had any issues at all?
Not really. I had the everything that could potentially be sour, like the person on the other end has been really good about, making amends and things like that. I had a decent haul of jumpers lost in the post a couple weeks ago, and Salah was just completely transparent with me, communicated the whole way. Really haven't had a bad experience. I've been pretty lucky. You do see the stories of people, the ripping people off, not sending jumpers, not paying up when they're supposed to. Or I saw one a few weeks ago that someone commented sold on a post but owed someone else money for a jumper. And I haven't had anything like that, so I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah, it does happen, unfortunately. But like you say, most of the community is fantastic, all fantastic people, not just blokes, but there's a lot of good ladies out there as well who do collect. So majority of the time it's really fantastic, and everyone's always willing to help out everybody. And nobody goes out there to screw anyone over, usually. So they will actually generally look to make amends as well if there is a mistake made. I mean, I'm not perfect either. I've made mistakes as well. It is what it is. I learn from it. So it is good when people are willing to help out and learn and certainly fix the issue as well later on. So, but that is good that you haven't had any real issues. So let's hope that continues for you.
Hopefully. As I'm getting towards the bigger fish as well, it gets a little bit more nerve-wracking. So
it will for sure. Start putting big dollars up there. Generally, the big dollar people will be very well known, so it's not too difficult. But I always encourage people as well to do reference checks. When people want to do reference checks on me, I'm like, you beauty, go for it, because I'm very confident in my reputation, and so I really hope that other people are willing to do the same as well. And that way it just builds a real strong community, and everyone can help each other out and not just throw people under the bus, which is what we don't want to see happen in the community. That's for damn sure. So no, I do love being a part of it, and probably have slowed down a bit on it, but I do thoroughly enjoy it. And people like yourself, when they come along and really start a really good collection and do it in a really right way, in a really good way, it's really exciting to see. If you ever need a Hawks jumper that I have, hit me up, but I probably won't. I'm pretty keeping it a little bit lower now, so trying to keep it to as little as possible, but always willing to help no matter what.
Oh, awesome. I appreciate that. It's always good to hear as well. People just striving for other people's goals. I remember the first time I ever messaged you was about a Stephen Hill jumper one on eBay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That was Matchful, and I asked you about it. And then I was like, I don't really know what I want to do with this or what it's worth. And then I posted it up. I just said, I'm not really interested in selling it, but maybe a trade for some Hawthorn gear. Someone hit me up. I can't remember who exactly it was, but they said, I used to play junior footy with Stephen Hill. Would you be interested in selling it? And I said, absolutely. That's such a sick story, and it's a cool collection guide. He said he collected a couple other players that he played junior footy with, so
Nice.
I'd be happy to help and things like that. It's just good to see. It puts a smile on someone else's face, which is the big thing about the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember when you asked me that question as well, and I'm pretty sure I told you that you actually purchased it from Craig Evans. Sorry, Milo's going off below me here. You actually purchased it directly from Craig Evans, who was a former guest on the show and works for the Freo Dockers, so you did well.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it was a pretty good steal as well. So I think it was like $70 or $80 I ended up getting it for, so it was good.
Yes, it may not happen that much anymore with cheap jumpers going like that, but you never know. Definitely some bargains to be had for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So now you live at home still. Where do you store all your jumpers?
Actually, I brought it with me for show and tell.
Bought it with? Is it a suitcase? Don't tell me it's a suitcase. It is. It's a tub.
I got the tub.
I use those at work. The same one.
So I got them all in here.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to take
all...
Can you show me that again?
yeah.
And I'm going to just quickly, I'm going to take a photo of that. How do I do that? Take snapshot. There we go. Beauty. Awesome. That's really cool. I'm going to share that on the page because that looks really cool. And everyone's just like, what are you doing taking a photo on the podcast? But there you go. I like that. That's really cool. So it's all, have you heat sealed, like sealed the bags, the vacuum sealed, or are they just in a bag?
So they're just in a bag at this stage. I spend a lot on Snaplock bags.
Yep.
But they're all sort of catalogued.
Oh, I like that.
So it's got just the year, the design, and sort of if it was worn or PI. And I don't have them with me, but I keep the any AFL COAs I get. They're in a like a top loader.
Yep.
So I got them from Dave FC when I last caught up with him, and they've been great. But yeah, because I live at home, so I don't really have the right to much storage space. I have to make do with what I've got. So I've got 34 in there at the moment. I've sold a couple last week. So,
right.
So yeah, so it probably fits, I'd say no more than 40.
Okay, so you have to upgrade
soon. Instead of buying another tub, I'm sort of go, I might have to have a look and see what I can sell or move on. So, it keeps it all organised. It's all in number order as well, so I know exactly what I'm pulling out.
Oh, very cool.
Keeps the smell of the match-worn Guernseys sort of contained as well. I've got a couple recently, and I kid you not, opened the tin, and I gagged immediately. It was probably the worst smell I've ever got. But yeah, just straight in the Snaplock bag. Didn't want to spend any time with it out in the fresh air. It was gross.
It'll keep that smell in too, so when you open it, you'll just get smacked with it as well.
Yeah, it's not fun. I haven't tried to open them yet. I don't want to. There's a couple other ones as well. I've got a Tom Phillips one in there that absolutely reeked when I got it. And it straight in the Snaplock bag and just don't want to ever have to smell that smell again.
So obviously they're all in that tub. So do you have any framed at all, or are you planning on getting any framed?
Wasn't planning on framing them. I just, again, relating back to Andy Munro TikToks, he always goes on about how he finds more value in them unframed, and he hates having to gravel off glue or pick staples out of jumpers. And I see it too. The Paul Salmon one I have is 2000, so it's 21 years old. It's in mint condition. It's never been framed. It's been well looked after. And I think it's just at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot more value in 20 years' time than, potentially faded, a bit of colour fading from the sunlight or something like that. So I don't know. If I ever get a big piece, something like the Gary Ablett Senior one, I reckon that would go up in a frame because I'd never consider selling it. But everything else, probably stay in the Snaplock bags for the foreseeable future.
Yep.
I always get in a rut about how I should display them, and then I just end up looking at the tub and looking at how organised and just sits in the corner there out of the way. And I always think if anyone ever burgled my home and knowing that I had player issue Guernseys, they wouldn't know where to find them.
Fair. Or it'd be nice and easy for them to take them all too.
Yeah, that too, just straight out in the tub. So play a bit on the edge there, but no, it's just easy storage and I can move it around when I want to. It's just the tins that take up all the room.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, you get the tins, especially if you get a tin from the club for a player issue, you're just like, you don't really want to. When you sell it, what's the point of posting it out? It's just going to get ruined by Oz Post. So I've got too many tins and it just takes up too much space. I know Brett Baz, about a quarter of his wardrobe that he stores them in is just tins and boxes from the footy club. So,
So what about signing them? Do you prefer them to come unsigned? Do you like getting them signed yourself, or do you just want to have them signed when they come to you?
I like them coming signed. I don't necessarily look for them to be signed, whereas I prefer it. The only jumper I've had personally signed, because I obviously started collecting during COVID time, so I think Hawthorn only had a handful of open training since. But I sent out a jumper to Ricky Henderson once, and it was a really cool experience just to go do that. He lives a few hours away, but sent it in the post and just communicating with him, that was good fun. I haven't had much luck communicating with players about their Guernseys and things, so that was really cool. But otherwise, I'll buy them signed or unsigned, and if I really want them signed, I'll send them out or do the best I can to get to a training or something like that.
That's really cool. So when you say you had a bit of a conversation with Ricky, did you just message him on Instagram or something and he responded to you, and then you asked if you could sign your jumper, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I just messaged him on Instagram and I just said, sort of, hey, what's up? I collect for Hawthorn jumpers. Check out my page so you know I'm not talking shit about it. Here's the one I have of yours. Can I send it through and get it signed? And he goes, yep, just send it with a return bag inside and I'll get it signed. And he was really good about it. I was a bit late. I had a bit going on at home, and it was about a week later and I was like, shit, I didn't send a jumper. Like, I'm so sorry. It was Christmas time last year, so in the middle of retail. And he said, no, that's cool. Just send it through and I'll get it back when I can. I think he got it back by the end of the week. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
but not much luck with any other players. I bought a jumper directly off Taya Miles, which is cousin of Mitch Duncan, and in that little tight-knit group. But he was only on the list for a few years. But yeah, that's about it, really. I have pretty shit luck, or when I do get a hold of them, they've all been cleaned out already.
A little over a year. That's a pretty good start, but because, I mean, I've only really started contacting players recently, but you've probably had almost as much luck as I have in 7 years of collecting, so you've done all right.
I look at it and I say, like, there's a bunch of guys that, they get some ridiculous whole player catalogs, and you just wonder, how do you do it? You don't want to step on their toes and be like, hey, can you tell me how you message someone on Instagram? It's a little bit awkward, but no, it's all in the fun of it, all the scouting and really getting down and dirty for jumpers. It's good.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Now, what's your thoughts? You had a bit of a conversation about it earlier, but what's your thoughts on the club selling player authentics, especially player issue jumpers, on the club website? Essentially player issue jumpers, by the way, on the club shop website. So I know it's a bit different nowadays, because back in the day, I think 2014, 2015, they were selling the player authentics, and I quotate that. They were the same as player issue jumpers, however, that you could buy them in every size for each player. Now, I think they're a little bit different now, where you can only buy that player's specific size. So what are your thoughts and feelings on being able to buy them from the club shop online, essentially?
I reckon it's great. I know a lot of other collectors are a bit iffy about it. They prefer to, get their hands on it first. But for me, that's exactly how I started. So I got lucky, and it just absolutely fueled my passion for it. And then even this recent Hawks authentic sale, seeing a bunch of younger guys get a couple of Guernseys here and there, just rookies or, your sort of B-list guys. I just found it really cool because it's exactly what I did. And you can just see it's the start of something big for them. Mm-hmm. And the price point too, it's affordable. Most of them, I think they're between $250, $225, $200 or $180, I think Hawthorn priced them at.
Nice.
So, yeah, really good for a young collector to get their hands on them. I know a lot of Hawthorn collectors, young ones that are 15, 16, 17, which that's a fortnight's paycheck for them, $150. So to get their hands on them, it's cool. So I have nothing wrong with it. Yeah. I also enjoy, getting down to the Hawks Nest when I can and just having a flick through and seeing what's there. Sometimes I get some older stuff out that I just clear out, a lot of blanks and things like that. But no, it's good fun. I think for the younger guys too, especially if they get wind about it early, it's a really good chance for them to get a decent jumper. I know 25, 30 minutes after they went up, there was still Sicilies, there was still Warples, Gunstons, so really great chance to get some decent players in your list. So
yeah, nice. I managed to pick up a Daniel Howell from last year's one, actually. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. $200 is bargain.
Exactly right. Especially Hawthorn prices these days are just through the roof. So it's good to sort of bring it down a little bit, because then you just tend to find a little bit of a cheaper jumper a few weeks after. So
yeah. What's the most unique jumper you have in your collection?
Oh, that's a good one. I think in terms of being unique at the moment, it would be the 2014 name round.
Yes.
That would be because Hawthorn had the back-to-back commemorative design on the front as well.
True, yeah. And
So
it's Brad Sewell's, I believe, right?
Yep. So I've got a Brad Sewell one. So that was pretty, like, he didn't play on the day, so that one's just a PI, but that was unreal. The opportunity to grab that one was just ridiculous. I had the Derek Wanganeen, just the back-to-back one. So that's the 2014 commemorative one. And the opportunity passed up. I was like, see you later, Derek Wanganeen. I'm sorry, but, kill two birds with one stone with the back-to-back in the name round. So that's probably my most unique one.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, talking about unique, there's got to be one of the most unique jumpers in the AFL history at the Hawks. And I have one in my cupboard, and I love it and probably won't get rid of it. And it is a Brad Hill, actually. The Power Ranger jumper. You have one as well. What is your thoughts on the Power Ranger?
Yeah, I've had a few Power Rangers pass through, actually. I think I'm always going to keep one. I think Adidas did a pretty good job that year. I love how it's the actual design of it is. I couldn't give you my honest thoughts. I'm still not sure about it today, but I love the feel of the actual jumper in hand and the silk sort of feel on the front.
Yep.
I reckon that's unreal. It sort of definitely gives it that metallic look which they were going for, but I think it's just a big miss in terms of the Clash front. I mean, you see where they're trying to get at, but it's just, it hasn't done it. I would have preferred just like a clean white on the front instead of like that metallic sort of looking thing. It just looked ridiculous on field. But it's going to be a collectible piece, I'm sure, to come.
No doubt.
So, it's a good one to have for sure.
It'll definitely be a cult jumper, I believe, for sure. And you're right. On field, I was like, what the hell is that? What are they wearing? When I got it in my hands, I was like, holy crap, this is actually really nice. I quite like this. So, it's a funny one, that one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely, in hand it feels real good, but it looks stupid on field.
Fair enough. Now, what do you value your collection at now, if you could put a value on it? You've got 34 jumpers in the collection, from my maths. What would you value it at?
I sort of value it just based on what I've paid for it. Solely because I've paid overs for plenty and also paid unders for plenty. Probably sitting the plus 11, 12,000 by now, I'd say.
Nice.
I have a few, pretty big pieces like the Sewell name round in there, the Smith Grand Final, the Birchall Match Worn Indigenous, which was 2016 with the gold badge. Got a couple Crofts in there. So, some big money ones in there. So, probably about that 11, 12 sort of mark.
Nice. What's your most valuable one, you reckon?
In terms of spend or valuable to me?
Oh, that's a good question. See, it's a good question for me there. Give me both.
So, spend, I actually don't have it in hand yet, but it is a 2010 Hodge Clash match worn with the big hawk down the side.
Oh, yep.
That was 1,200.
Nice.
In terms of sentimental value, it would have to be the 2008 Shane Crawford player issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
His last year at the club, premiership year. Cult hero, one of my favorites growing up. Always when I get down to the training as a kid, you'd always come say hello to all the kids and myself and sign jumpers and sign my little photo books and sign my footy cards. So, definitely that 2008 Shane Crawford for me. And then the 2010 Hodge would be my two big pieces.
Very good call. He was a huge fan of Croft, so I mean, should be everybody's favourite, really. Just such a good bloke as well, such a fantastic footy player.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, so you've just answered my next question, which is good, so we'll jump to the next one. Do you collect anything other than footy jumpers? I know you said you're an NBA fan as well. Do you have a bit of a collection of NBA stuff or anything else?
I did dabble in the NBA cards when we went through the last lockdown here in Victoria. Again, just bored and still had a job. So I was thankful to have a job, but I couldn't go out and do anything. And usually I'd just spend money on dinners and things, but you can't do that. So started buying boxes of NBA cards and, nothing major, but now they're just all low-end stuff sitting in a drawer. I do have a a plan to one day collect NBA jerseys. I see you're quite the keen collector. I see you in the group as well. Again, I think it's even just, it worries me, the NBA, how much they're faked around the world and how you can just spend some big bucks and be absolutely blown, especially coming from the US, or a lot of sellers are in Europe, Asia, and you just can't, you get that jumper in your hand, it's almost impossible to sort of do anything with it if it's incorrectly authenticated or if it's fake. So, yeah, that is a plan. You see some pretty good stuff on there that they don't really value, but for me, like I saw a Darren Collison Sacramento gamer on there today for 200 US or some stupid like that, and I thought that's nuts. I should buy that.
It hurts me so much to not buy it right now.
I know, and it's just like, that's the price. Like, that's a player issue over here that costs, and you're getting Game 1 NBA stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But no, yeah.
The only reason I haven't actually bought that is because I purchased off that same gentleman. Can't remember what I bought off him, but it took about 3 months or 4 months to arrive. So it's painful coming from America at the moment. So yeah, it's a little hard to collect them, not just because their values can be so high sometimes, but because of getting the stuff here from the US is really difficult.
Yeah, I had a big mess around with UPS and a Matisse Thybulle rookie card. Got it hot off the Boomers' success in Tokyo and bid on it. Stupidly didn't see it was in the US, so I was like, okay, still kept it to a reasonable budget when I bought it, and it just took like 2 months to get here. By the time I got here, I was like, I can't be bothered with collecting anymore. Now I've just got a Prism 9 slab Matisse Thybulle rookie card just sitting in my drawer somewhere. Just took so long, I just grew out of the hobby after that.
Wowee. So did you collect anything else, or is it just the bit of the cards, or which you've now grown out of? But have you anything else that you're collecting at the moment?
Nah, nothing else at the moment.
Nah, sticking to footy. It's expensive enough.
Yeah, was big into the footy cards when I was younger, and then sort of grew out of that. And only recently picked up the Guernseys. Yeah. Late last year, so
I'm with you on the footy cards. They've gotten too expensive and too hard to get. It's just not worth the trouble anymore, I think.
Yeah, I used to go complete my, my sets, go to the market, local market every day or every Sunday. It was 50 cents for a basic insert. That'd give me $10. I'd go buy some cards, fill in my gaps, and that was it.
Yep.
That was all I got, the base cards, the common cards, and a few cool cards. But now I see like the quadruple autograph booklet. With like Lockett, Ablett, Dunstall, and I can't remember the fourth one, going for a ridiculous amount of money. I could never justify spending that money on card.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think, who was it? Somebody sent me a message that had a David Mundy Supremacy card. So it's one of the new ones. And they asked me if I was interested. And, in previous years I would have been, but now I know what they're worth, and they're just a base card, so I'm not really that interested. And then I asked the value, and I was like, I'm even less interested now. But, I mean, believe it or not, they were being really fair with their pricing because it can go a lot higher than what they actually offered. So I really do appreciate it, that obviously knowing that I'm a big money fan. But that was just the point where I'm like, there's just no point in me collecting cards anymore. It's too damn expensive. So I've grown out of it as well.
Yeah, the cards, it seems good at the time, and you just sit there. I got a big drawer full of them now, full of random things, and it's like, yeah, just a big miss, some of them, and the price they go for, and the price you buy them for, and they just decrease a lot of them. You get invest in rookies and things like that, like Thybulle. Like I bought it for, I think, about 130 AUD, right when probably his price point was peaking. And now same card sells for $50-$60.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like, you either sit on them for 10 years and Thybulle becomes a 3-time MVP, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year champion, and it sells for thousands. Or he continues, being the solid defensive role player he is and keeps his value of a neat $60.
Yep. All right, so the missus has been even tapping her watch. So I've got 5 minutes to ask the last 2 questions. What is your top 5 jumpers you have in your collection? I always ask what's the best one, but I'm going to go with your top 5 if you can think of them.
In no particular order and off the top of my head, I've got Brendan Whitecross's 2015 2017 Indigenous match-worn Guernsey,
Yep.
which was also his 100th game. So that's a pretty cool one. That's just a little side piece.
Definitely.
The Grant Birchall match-worn 2016 Indigenous.
Mm-hmm.
The Croft 08 PI.
Mm-hmm.
The Smith 2015 Grand Final PI. And then sleeper one would probably be my 3 Indigenous Guernseys in the top 5. My 2021 Dylan Moore match worn. That was my first ever dabble in the club auctions.
Yep.
And it holds a lot of value to me because it took him that long to send it. I know Bradley Stone got his last week.
Mm-hmm.
Match was round 9, I think it was. So the amount of value I hold in that jumper because it took so long to get to me is just ridiculous. I probably never sell it just because I had to endure so many emails to the clubs and talking to Brett Attrell every week. You got yours yet? You got yours yet? You got yours yet? Nah. And then they told me that, no postage label, no tracking, nothing, just showed up at my door. So that was from Brett Attrell and Jack Gunson. So I was like, oh shit, like they've lost mine in the post. I spent $550 on it. Like I was fuming. And then one day I get home and it's just laying next to the door, dented like no tomorrow.
Oh God.
I'm like, it's here. I'm happy. So yeah, that rounds out my top 5.
Fair enough. I'm assuming Hodge will slip in there at some point when you get it as well, eh?
Yeah, I do have a Hodge match worn as well already, a 2012.
Yeah.
That'd probably be in the mix too. Yeah, just off the top of my head, it'd be hard to sort of even remember what's in there at the moment.
It's not like I throw you under the bus or anything. All right, Jordan, last question for the day. What jumper don't you have yet that you'd like to get your hands on?
That is a great question. I feel like a lot of Hawthorn collectors in my position would say the same thing, and it is the ever-evasive 2005 Blue Heritage.
Oh, yes.
Just unique, blue and red and white. And if anyone's got one, it's locked away for good.
Mm.
Hard to come across. I don't really go around asking for them yet because I just know that if you've got them, they're not going to get rid of them unless they get another one in. So, that is the dream one of the collection. Not necessarily next, but yeah, definitely the dream. I could probably retire peacefully once I get my hands on one of those ones. Fair
enough. It would be really upsetting to hear that I probably saw one of those sit on the market for a while at about $400 about 5 years ago, and it sat there for quite some time as well. So amazing how far this collecting game has come such a short period of time.
Yeah, and I haven't seen one cheaper than $1,000, since I've been around. So that is a bit painful, but it's what I get for starting so late. So.
Yep, it is. So unfortunately for you, you might be a while before you can finish your collection, but it's all in fun, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. I wouldn't change it for anything else. It's
beautiful.
Good.
Well, it's great to have you on here, Jordan. We finally got you on here. I know you've been wanting to come on for a while, and I'm stoked to finally get you here. And I've had a good time, but the missus is standing behind me TikToking, so we'll have to get a move on. But cheers for joining me, Jordan. It's been fantastic to have you on and hear from you. So I really hope you continue your collecting for a long time yet, and you thoroughly enjoy it as much as we do.
No, thank you. I appreciate you for having me on, and thanks for being such an inspiration for young collectors like myself. And it's been fun. Been watching your journey as well. It's good.
I really appreciate the words as well. Thank you very much, Jordan. You have a great evening, and we're out of here.
You too. See you later, Aaron. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
You better take care, cross the lights. If Santa sees you coming, you can say goodnight, 'cause Santa Claus has got a new truck. He's hotted it up, painted it red, and he's cruising around town like a petrol head, 'cause Santa Claus has got a new truck. His hands are getting shaky, his eyesight's up the creek. I saw him knock a reindeer over just the other week. It's all covered in lights, presents in the back.
There we go. Thank you very much again to Jordan Acker. Hope you guys all enjoyed that just as much as I did. Had a great time with him on the chat here with me on Tuesday afternoon. Or was it Monday? It was Monday afternoon. It's very hard to keep track of dates at the moment. With Christmas in retail, as I've mentioned multiple times, it does get rather difficult working out what day it is. So we did the interview with Jordan on Monday. Tuesday last night, I did the open, and it is now Wednesday, and we are doing the close. Mind you, it's 10 minutes before Thursday. But anyway, this is the first time I've actually done this over 3 days, where I've done a whole episode over 3 days. we'll have to wait and see if it actually goes into the 4th day, where after I've done the close and I've edited it, whether I can be bothered putting it all together and then putting it out on the waves. Otherwise, it will be late Thursday evening when I get home from work, about 10:30 p.m, where I finally get it done and episode out for everyone to hear. But anyway, back to Jordan. Thank you again for coming on. Hope you all enjoyed it. Great little Stark Deer Hawks collection. I'm really excited to see where it goes and how far you can get in 2022. Hopefully you keep us updated. Thank you again. Now, it'd be remiss of me to not talk about the Freo Dockers end-of-season sale. I know you're probably all very sick of hearing about Freo content, but it is something that a lot of you are interested in hearing about because you would like to hear your own club or like to see your own club do this type of thing, which is the end-of-season sales. And hopefully, if you guys hear what we have to say about it and what we did, then you can take it back to your own club, hopefully with emails, or you have a contact maybe you can chat to and just tell them how the Freo Dockers do it, and maybe, you never know, you can get them doing it, because it's kind of how it started for Freo as well, is I took some of the merch guys from Freo to the Wildcats end of season sale, the Perth Wildcats, and they kind of enjoyed how that went. Also had a bit of a chat to them about how Port did theirs, and it's grown to what it is now. So Andy Munro from TikTok will definitely be very upset if we don't have a chat about this. So we'll go through it briefly. We'll just talk about how it started out to begin with. Well, for us, it started at 5 a.m. I got there at 5 a.m. thinking, I should be pretty close to the front. It's a pretty early morning. Last year, I got there just after 6, I believe, or 6:30, and there was only 3 people ahead of me. So I thought, all right, we'll give it 5 a.m. We should be pretty right. We should be at the front this time. I was very wrong. Got there at 5 and I was 8 or 9 deep, maybe even longer. Obviously, I noticed a couple of the people who were in the line who I definitely know quite well. And I went up to the front of the line to see Craig, who was actually second in line, Craig Hall, another great Freo collector. And it turns out he got there at 2 o'clock in the morning and was obviously clearly number 1 in line at that point in time. Forgot that he left his wallet at home, so he's made a big mistake. He's made the mad dash home. He's come back to the line, and he's got there at 3 o'clock, and someone's beaten him back. So he's now gone from first in line to technically third, because there was 2 people there. They were together, but 2 people in front of him at that point in time. So he must have been absolutely devastated. Wearing his retro gear, so good to see him out there. Obviously, what an absolute legend to get there at that time in the morning, and just to come back and make that second effort as well was fantastic. We'll have to reevaluate what we do next year. But a great effort. There's a great effort by everybody to get out there nice and early. 5 o'clock in the morning, it was chockers. So, and not long after I was there, 5:30 to 6, there was a good 30 people deep, and it just grew from there. And by 7:30 a.m., it was nuts. By the time the doors opened, you couldn't see the end of the line. It was very, very long. I believe a lot of people actually just decided once they came in and saw the line was just insane at about 8 a.m., they just decided it wasn't going to be worth it. And I'll be honest, it probably wasn't for them in the end, because when those doors opened, it just went nuts. The retro round jumpers were on the left-hand side as you walk in the door. So, of course, that was the first thing everyone did, was run straight for the retro jumpers. And they lasted less than a minute, which is crazy. I believe they were $200 each, and they were a good mixture of player issue and match worn. Now, I did find out that all the jumpers from the players that played that day were match worn, and that's because they did wear 2 on the day. So the players were each given 1 jumper to take home, and the second jumper was put in the lotto, or in the sale, sorry, not in the lotto. We're not Port Adelaide just yet. So all those that picked up a jumper from that day, from a player that did play in the day, it was match worn. So well done, congratulations. And to the ones that picked up a player issue, hey, still congratulations, because they are worth a hell of a lot more than $200, and that's probably proven by the first one to go up for sale on eBay went for $521 from Brett Bewley, who did not play on the day. So definitely worth some good money there. Just fantastic jumpers to have. They were limited to 1 per customer. Now, I say per customer as strongly as I do because I picked up 2. Now, this pissed a lot of people off, and it's rather frustrating because they don't read the rules clearly. I was there with my wife, Emma, the lovely Emma. So, yes, she is my wife. I think that might be the first time I've said that on the podcast. I'm stoked about it. Great night was had by all at my wedding, of course. Even the great David Mundy had a great night. He was there. If you don't believe me, check out the podcast page, the Facebook page, and you'll see a photo. Myself, Em, and Dave all having a lovely photo together. Enough bragging from me. No, it was a great day, and I was stoked. So Em picked up 2 jumpers. I missed them. I walked in, and I always have a plan. Every single time I go to these Freo sales, I have a written plan of what I'm going to go for. I'll use photos that the club put out, which they did, and they kind of threw a curveball at us. So they threw a curveball. They had pictures of the jumpers in certain spots, and then they moved them when the doors open. So everybody went mad dash left, and I just kind of dawdled in. I'm sure if some of you have seen the video, I kind of just dawdled in and just looked around and thought, I don't know where I'm going. So I looked right in front of me. I grabbed a Starlight jumper, which I was stoked about because I didn't expect to see any Starlight jumpers there at all. So that was a really nice surprise and really well priced as well. And then I just moved around the room and just went from there. But I'd actually technically missed out on the retro jumpers, and I was devastated. And I just couldn't believe it. I believe Craig Hall, who I was talking about, who actually was at the front of the line originally, he missed out as well. I'm not sure how or what happened. He did go straight for the retros. He grabbed one, but he was looking for Sean Darcy's, and he missed out. And by the time he gave up on looking for a Sean Darcy, all of the numbers got cleared out, and he was left standing there thinking, oh shit, I should just grab one. So it was that nuts in the first couple of minutes of the sale. That room got cleared out real quick. Within an hour, less than an hour, the entire room was empty, which is the first time that's ever happened. Obviously, the Freo Club did really well out of it, made the most money they've ever made. But yeah, they were stoked, and I was stoked because not only did I miss out, but I had my lovely wife with me who did pick up 2 retros. Yes, it was 1 per customer, 1 for myself and 1 for my lovely wife, Emma. So yes, we did have 2. Emma bought 1 and I bought 1. That's how 1 per customer works for all those playing at home. So yeah, I was very glad that I took Emma along because she saved me completely from missing out altogether. I would have missed out on both, or missed out on any. But I was lucky enough that she picked up 2 and was able to avoid the lady who was screaming out 1 per customer only. So I don't know how she managed that. But yeah, super happy with that. I think I picked up about 33 jumpers on the day and paid, I think, 3,700. I can't remember now, to be perfectly honest with you. But I picked up 33 jumpers and around about $3.5 to $4,000, somewhere in there, that I paid. So a lot less than I did last year. I think last year I paid $6,800, and mid-season I paid $1,800. So it was an interesting mid-season. Obviously not as many jumpers or designs. But yeah, I was pretty happy with my spend this year. I think I went in with about 4.5 and didn't spend all of it, which is always a good thing, but I quite easily could have. And every time I look back on it, I definitely wish that I had bought a few more, but is what it is, and that's the way it goes. So I was pretty happy with my haul. Picked up a few Nat 5s, which is unusual because usually they put a limit of 1 per person. They didn't this year, which was great. So I think I picked up 3 or 4 Nat 5s and was absolutely stoked with that. I did notice that there was a very severe lack of home jumpers at the sale. And that was because the club weren't too sure whether they were going to have their home jumpers in time for the preseason or for next year, start of next year. I'm sure they were pretty certain they'll have them start of next year, but they wanted to make sure they had some on hand just in case they needed some for the preseason. So the home jumpers were not really at the sale at all. I think I might have seen 2, maybe 3, I'm not sure, but I did pick up 1 and was Nat 5. So pretty lucky on the day, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I had a great day had by all. Didn't see too much issue from it at all. I think everyone just had a really good time. And the club obviously was really happy. So yeah, that was my story and trip from the Freo sale. Obviously it was in short form because I didn't want to bore everybody or have everyone tune out before we get to the rest of today's close of the podcast. So Andy, there you go, mate. Hopefully that will keep you entertained for a little while. Now, what else have I got in since the last podcast? So as far as Freo jumpers goes, pretty much all I've picked up from the Freo jumper side is just what I got from the sale. So I'll run through quickly what I did pick up at the sale. Probably just leave it to the major type stuff. So the two retro jumpers that I got were Caleb Sarong and Andy Brayshaw, both match worn, both very well worn as well. Andy Brayshaw had a cracking game that day. He's 38 disposals and 3 Brownlow votes. Probably his best game of all time so far, in the 4 years that he's played. A Nat 5 Clash match worn and a Nat 5 home player issue. Luke Ryan Clash match worn and a Michael Frederick player issue. Clash as well. Caleb Sarong Starlight match worn, which I was stoked to find. Can't believe I found it. Nat 5's match worn warm up top from this year. David Mundy's 2017 training jumper, which was very cool. It's actually a gift from the club, so that was great. I picked up a few Indigenous homes. I got Matt Tabernar, Heath Chapman, Joel Hamling, Brennan Cox, and Joel Weston. I actually did pick up a Michael Frederick last week outside of the sale as well, so I didn't lie there. But interesting thing with those Freo Indigenous home jumpers is there was actually 2 versions of it. So listen in if you do have one of those home Indigenous, because you might not know this information. But so originally when the club got sent one of these jumpers, it was the incorrect colour from what they actually wanted. So the ones that they were sent had the gradient on the back. So if you look at the back, there is either a solid purple and the background of the players lined up, and the solid purple was the ones that they used in the match. And on the front, the 2 boomerang-looking shapes, which are actually 7s, I don't know how that works, but they're upside-down 7s. I actually think that represents the 7 players that were on the back from memory. Could be wrong there, but anyway, the 2 L-looking shapes that are on the front, the colour purple that's on there, the match jumpers were much lighter purple or pink. I think it's a purple, but it looks much more pink on these match jumpers. And on the training jumper, so actually the ones that they didn't use in the match jumper, so the ones that they rejected, they ended up using for the training session in that week as well. So they did use them, but they were only used for training. They had that gradient purple on the back, in the background of the 7 players lined up, and on the front with that L-shaped, the purple was much darker. So if you have one of those jumpers, have a look at that now, and you'll find whether it was a match jumper or a training jumper. There you go, a little bit of knowledge for you. Also, managed to find that there was a bunch of old jumpers on a rack, which was fantastic to see. I'm silly enough that I only picked up one of them. I should have picked up heaps more, because it was Crowley's and Michael Johnson and all sorts of things, and I picked up one of them. The one I picked up was a 2014 Michael Johnson Clash jumper, and it was very interesting. On the inside of the tag, it actually had the date in which it was worn, which is super cool, and I thought it was really weird that they would do that, because they don't really do that too often. I found David Mundy's 2015 one, which they wrote on the inside of that, because he actually kicked the winning goal against Richmond, so I'm glad that they recorded that on the back of the tag, because that was really easy to match for me then, and a fantastic jumper to have. So they did that on this jumper as well, and I was trying to work out why they would have done that, and it's because at this jumper, or this game, they actually had a second wear white on the night where they wore a white jumper at home. Those who are playing at home, they did it in 2013 as well, where they wore white against Port Adelaide, and they had the members' photos, whoever paid for the right anyway, they had the photos in the number. So that was their little thank you to members. So they did it again in 2014. This time just used their standard Clash jumper, but they wore the Clash at home against Carlton. So really cool that I saw they had the date on the tag. Very, very cool indeed. I picked up 3 more Clash Indigenous as well. I got Joel Weston, Sam Switkowski, and James Aish. And then it's a few Clash jumpers as well. Rory Lobb, Matt Tabernar, Brennan Walker, Joel Weston, Brennan Walker long sleeve, and a Hayden Young Clash as well. So that was all the Freo jumpers that I picked up at the sale. I know I said I wasn't going to read them all out, but there you go. I did read every single one of them. And I actually picked up quite a few non-Freo jumpers as well in the last 3 months since our last podcast. I can't remember what I actually mentioned in that podcast, so might be doubling up here. But I got a Darren Cowell 1997 preseason Melbourne Demons jumper. Got that from the great Doug Slater, Mr. Centenary. A 2018 Billy Stretch Melbourne with the navy blue, which is great, or the baby blue, sorry. A 2019 Paddy Dow player issue, Carlton Blue, signed. That was from Dan Denich. Thank you very much, Dan. I also got 2 South Fremantle match-worn jumpers from 2021. 2020, sorry. No, it was 2021. They wore them early in the year. That's right. They put them on their shop page for $50 each, which was awesome. I picked up 2 of those. I got a 2021 Connor Rosé player issue Port Adelaide jumper. It was one of the unused white Marsh series jumpers. Disappointing they didn't use these jumpers at all because fantastic design. I really liked the KFC, the MG red logos on the back. Thought they worked really well. And this is not one of those heat-pressed Port Adelaide jumpers because for me that's not collectible at all as far as I'm concerned. At least these ones were meant for wear. Those heat-pressed ones, they were just done just in case. But is what it is. They did actually wear a heat-pressed one in a preseason game, but not all the designs that they decided to do and all the high-end players that they decided to put a bunch of heat-pressed numbers onto, in my opinion, just to sell the jumpers much easier. But, it is what it is. Hopefully you picked up something decent from the Port Adelaide end-of-season little shop sale that they did. How are your thoughts and feelings of that? I would be interested to know. I know it was very interesting that they did their lotto sale where everyone thought this is going to be the only chance they had to buy a jumper, jump in the lotto and get yourself a trainer where someone gets yourself a decent jumper. I don't know if you've seen the opening or the unboxing or unbagging that I did live on the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page. You would have seen that I picked up a trainer, Mitch Georgiades trainer, clearly unworn. And a lot of other people picked up great stuff like a long sleeve Indigenous Robbie Gray, for instance, and we all paid the same price. So it's definitely a broken system. I don't like it, and there was just too many trainers in there for people to really get something good out of it. I didn't do too badly out of it. It was fine, but obviously did see a lot of people did much, much better. Luckily for me, I don't really care because I'm not a Port Adelaide fan, so it wasn't too fussed with what I got. But I know there would be a lot of people really upset where people who aren't Port Adelaide fans get great jumpers and they didn't get good jumpers, for instance. So it doesn't really work that way. And then they decided to chuck on a really random sale just out of the middle of nowhere. One night they put up a post saying, tomorrow there's going to be a sale. Great, come on down and see what you can get. And there was a lot of really good player issue jumpers in there. So that really is not the best way to look after your really club stalwarts, but hopefully they can get back to their old school way of doing things. I think that's definitely the best way that they've actually done it. We'll see what happens. Also picked up a 2021 Daniel Howe Hawks player issue jumper off the Hawks Nest website. So that was really cool, $200. I paid for that one. I did a great trade for a card. Like I said to Jordan, I'm out of cards now. I'm just not really collecting cards at all anymore. So I did a great trade for a 2018 Sean McKernan round 11 match-worn sign. So it's the Anzac jumper. The Dreamtime jumper, and it looks amazing. I've only seen one of these jumpers before. Heath Donovan's got it. This is only the second one I've ever seen, and it's covered. It's filthy, dirty, stains all over it, and it's absolutely beautiful. So fantastic jumper. I did a great deal, great trade. I know I'm happy, and I know he's happy, so all guns are blazing on that one. And I finally won my first lotto. Those of you who don't know, the Football Guernsey Lotto, I finally won one. I think I've been in probably 30 or 40. Spent a lot more than what I've actually got myself here, but doesn't matter. Stoked to finally get a win, and it's always good fun to go in. Got a 2016 Aaron Black North Melbourne Boomer Harvey's 427th game jumper. So really, really nice jumper. Always wanted one, and I was stoked to pick one up for $15 or $20 or whatever I paid for it. And that one's signed as well. I also picked up a 2021 Jake Passini Indigenous, Port Adelaide Indigenous jumper. Just Indigenous twice, but yep. Gorgeous design. I know there was a huge controversy about the design because someone claimed the design when Port Adelaide released it, so not great. And then their owner actually came forward and said, there's something wrong here. So it all ended up okay. And the design still got used, which is great because it's probably the best design Indigenous jumper that I've seen, at least in Port Adelaide anyway. But very, very high up, I think, on the list of best designs. So happy to pick that one up off eBay. Last one I mentioned is the 2021 Jackson Mead Port Adelaide. So I did pick up a few Port Adelaide this off-season. But this one, I just really wanted a home jumper. I missed out last year, so just wanted to have a home jumper in the collection. And the great Dave Beanie, absolute legend he is. He let me know that he was on the way to the shop, and if I like anything, if I wanted anything, he would grab it for me and post it out to me. So he did a great thing for me, and I really, really appreciate it. There are a lot of legends out there, and he's a good bloke. He's always doing great things for people. So thank you, Dave, and I'm just really happy to pick up this 2021 Jackson Mead home jumper. So thank you to Dave for that one. All right, so that's all I've picked up over the last 3 months. May sound like a lot to some, but 3 months for me, that's quite a low amount, I reckon. Let's get on with what I've seen. I will cut that down quite a lot. Obviously, in the last 3 months, there have been a huge amount of jumpers I've seen on eBay, so I'll just name some of the larger ones that I've seen. There was a framed North Melbourne Kangaroos, looks like a 98 or 99 Wayne Carey jumper. Now, obviously, you'll never know because it's framed. I mean, you will know because someone will, whoever bought it and decided to take the punt on it, paid $4.65 for it. So whoever took the punt, decided to buy it, turn it around and have a look after they've pulled it out. I would love to know if you picked it up and if it is indeed a player issue Wayne Carey, because to me it looks like it very highly potentially could be. Definitely the right size and is a player issue jumper. So it would be very interesting to see if it is indeed a Wayne Carey. Then there was a Melbourne Demons Grand Final 2000 jumper, player issue Brent Grigich. Interesting name. I certainly remember him playing back in the day. This one went for $610. Probably a little lower than I expected. I had a bid of $505, but I just ran out of time to sit there and wait for the end of the sale, so I missed out. But really good deal, really good pickup for whoever picked that up. And these sort of grand final jumpers that come up now, you're going to have to pay some dollars for them because they're not going to go cheap at all. There was a 2020 Sam Doherty match worn Carlton jumper, went for $426. A 2000 North Melbourne David Kelthorpe player issue went for $275. So a Bounty Roo player issue jumper went for $275. That's a bargain. Whoever picked that up, you did really well. 2014 Brock McLean Carlton match worn jumper went for $320. That's one of the Clash jumpers. This is about a point where I started seeing Carlton jumpers just going lower and lower in value. So that was quite interesting. 2021 Stephen Hill player issue Freo jumper went for $143. 2017 Billy Smets Carlton Clash, so the grey Clash match worn jumper went for $370. 2015 Billy Gowles Carlton home jumper player issue went for $378. As you can see, they're all hovering around the 300 mark, which is rather interesting. Carlton jumpers have a history of the last few years of going quite high. And then there was 2018. So this Carlton jumper is just coming out of everywhere at the moment, which I found really interesting, which is probably why the value was kept being a little bit lower. 2018 Sam Kerridge Carlton home player issue went for $305. So this one was interesting. In 1999, it was advertised as a Gavin Wanganeen. Yep, 1999 Gavin Wanganeen player issue went for $810. The interesting thing about it is the size was incorrect for a Wangas at the time. So obviously the Port Adelaide fans out there who knew what they were looking for weren't going to spend big dollars on it, but somebody has, $810. So it is the number one 1999 Port jumper. So someone's picked up a Wangas, but it's just not quite right because it's too big for what Wangas would have wore. So, yeah, just make sure you do your research before you spend big dollars. 2021, Mitch McGovern, home Carlton jumper, went for $455. Daniel Rich, 2016, fully signed by the playing squad of 2020, went for $295. A 2012 Patrick McCarthy Carlton jumper, as I said, Carlton jumpers just coming out from everywhere, went for $175. A Carlton long sleeve, Indigenous, which is an awesome design, especially Indigenous long sleeves. You don't see that very often. Went for $355. So that was a rather surprise. I mean, it was only a number 16, which for me, fantastic number. I love the number 16, but obviously not high on the list of players that people want at this point in time anyway. A Gold Coast Suns 2018 player worn home Stephen May went for $125, really cheap. Brock McLean 2012 Carlton jumper match worn went for $237. The Mitch McGovern came back again and went for $455. This is a surprise. I didn't see this one coming. West Coast Eagles 2021. So there are not too many 2021. Sounds like I do an ASMR at the moment. There's not too many 2021 player issue West Coast jumpers out there. This one's an Xavier O'Neill, went for $365. A long sleeve Travis Boak Port Adelaide jumper went for $275. A Dyson Heppel long sleeve heritage jumper, so the grey heritage went for $275, rather cheap as well. An Alec Waterman 2021 Anzac Day player issue jumper went for $192.50. I was devo about that. I really wanted it, and I don't know why. I think I just really like design, but also Waterman, great little player, and it's actually mates with one of my mates. So I really just wanted to grab that, but I missed the end of the auction again. So well done to whoever picked that up. If you want to sell it, let me know. I'd be interested. Hawthorn Hawks player issue, Sean Burgo in 2015 went for $345. Another Carlton jumper, a long sleeve 2008 Clash went for $202.50. This one was a shock to see it come up, and it took longer than I thought. It took about 48 hours for it to sell. A Roger Merritt 1993, roundabouts, 1993 Brisbane Bears jumper went for $375, signed by Roger on the front as well. Really surprised that lasted 48 hours. 2021 Matty Owies went for $395, another Carlton jumper. Carlton jumpers just continue going. A 2015 Indigenous Carlton went for $207.30. 2020 Carlton Lockie O'Brien went for $215 as an Indigenous as well, so just getting cheaper and cheaper as we go. A 2016, this one was quite a shock, 2016 members jumper, the Carlton Blues, this just continues, a number 16, so it was a player issue, but it had the names of the members on the front. Super rare jumper, and that one lasted a couple of weeks, which I was shocked, and it went for $285. So, yeah. Carlton value is just coming down. I don't really understand what's happened there. Obviously, there's been a little bit of an uplift in how many have been available, so that obviously is always a potential that's going to bring the price down on some jumpers. But yeah, I was a little bit shocked to see some of these jumpers going really low, especially for the members one specifically. A Robbie Gray 2021 Clash player issue jumper went for $400. I was watching that one, hoping it would come down to about $3, and I was going to have a crack at it. And last but not least, a 2021 player issue retro jumper, Brett Bewley went for $521, setting the bar for player issue retros. Very interesting to see where that goes. Now, the other thing I saw was the grand final jumper auctions, obviously, sold by official memorabilia. I won't go into all of them because I don't remember them, and they all got removed straight after the auction. However, the highest valued one was obviously Christian Petrarca, and before fees and buyer's premiums and all that sort of thing, went for $33,000. $33,000. Have a think about that one. A lot of money. But obviously, he did have a cracking game, and Melbourne have won one premiership in a very long time. So someone was obviously very, very excited to go and spend $33,000 and not buy their next vehicle for the next 5 to 10 years. But, well, hey, if you got the money and you want to spend it, that's a very good way of doing so. Hopefully it holds its value as you continue on in life. Another interesting thing we have with those Western Bulldogs jumpers, or with the grand final jumpers, was actually one of the Western Bulldogs ones. Now, I always am very contentious with some of these auctions. I'd rather get them directly from players, especially when you're spending that type of money, because you just never know sometimes what you're going to get and if it's what it's supposed to be. This gentleman that purchased one who will remain nameless, you may know who it is, but it doesn't matter. It's going to remain nameless for the wider audience. He purchased one under the assumption that it was match worn, because that's exactly what it said it was going to be. And it rocked up and looked very, very unworn. And he actually brought it around my house. It wanted my opinion on it. And to me, it could have been worn. It had one or two very, very minor marks, and I'm talking just maybe a fingernail on it. No dirt marks or anything like that. Maybe a pull and a very small fingernail mark. That was it. So if he wore it for the last quarter, I mean, potentially it could have been, because he didn't touch the ball much or go near it at that point. So he could have worn it for that last quarter potentially, but to me, I wouldn't be happy with paying $2,000 to $2,500 for a jumper when it doesn't look worn at all. But again, each to their own, and you know, you take your chances sometimes with these auctions, and obviously some of the ones that were quite clearly worn because you could watch them on the TV and they had, you know, rips or tears or marks that you could see very clearly, then you're probably going to spend a little bit more money on those. So sometimes it's a bit of give and take with those, but yeah, very interesting little topic on those as well. Hopefully you picked up a grand final jumper, be it from either side, because it always got to be a great little memento in years to come especially as they get harder to pick up. Well, that's just about going to bring us to the end of today's episode. Really hope you've enjoyed our little Christmas special episode. I know it hasn't been all that Christmassy. I hope you've enjoyed some of the music we've chucked in there. If you would like to be on the show, of course, please let us know. We'll see what we can do about getting you on a future episode. Without you, we can't make the show, especially if we don't have any great content. So if you'd like to be on the show, please get in contact with us either at the Facebook page or Instagram, of course, and we'll see about getting you on a future episode. Well, hopefully with future episodes, one we have coming up, we're still talking about doing the live episode. We've just been able to get ourselves a new camera, so we're going to record that on video as well. Should be a lot of fun. Don't know the full details yet, but we're looking at potentially end of January to have a live episode up and going on the Playerish Podcast Facebook page. So please keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for any other future Playerish Podcast episodes. Make sure you like and subscribe the show so you get the information as it comes out and every episode as soon as it gets published. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. It's only 2 days away as we speak right now. So please have a great Christmas, enjoy your holidays, have a safe New Year, and please have a great 2021 for the last few days. Pick up a jumper, why not? Make yourself a great deal and just enjoy the rest of your 2021. Let's lead into 2022 with some great luck. Have a great one, everybody. Goodbye, good night, good luck, have a good one. Goodbye.